Today I'll be installing Proxmox on these 3 servers. This will be a 2-phase operation where I create the Proxmox cluster on the first server and then have the other 2 servers join the cluster. The reason I'm using Proxmox is to host virtual machines that I'll use for Kubernetes. My applications will then be installed on top of Kubernetes, and Proxmox will give me a distributed storage layer called Ceph. So what Proxmox gives me is flexibility and redundancy. If I lose a machine, my workloads can be shuffled around thanks to Kubernetes and Ceph, which both sit on top of Proxmox. To get started, let's install Proxmox on the first server using a USB drive. First, you'll need to download a Proxmox ISO from their webpage. Then you'll need to flash the ISO onto a USB drive. I'll be using a program called Etcher to handle that. Once the drive is ready, plug it into your server and start it up. By the way, I'll have all the instructions for installing and expanding Proxmox on my GitHub page, link in the description below. With the USB drive booted up, I'll select Install Proxmox VE Terminal UI, and I'll select the hard drive that it'll be installed on. This is going to be my default NVMe drive, and then I'll click Next. I'll put in my settings for my locale information. I'll be going with US Detroit, Michigan. And then I'll create a password. And it's really important that you enter an email address here. Finally, I'll set up the network configurations. For the management NIC, I'll select my Ethernet interface. And for the host name, I'll use proxmox01.heavymetalcloud.lan. And for the other 2 servers, I'll be using proxmox02 and 03. For the IP address, I'll go with 192.168.3.4 for the first server. And the gateway will be the .1 address. The DNS will point to my OpenSense server, which is 192.168.3.2. With all the settings in place, I'll click Install, and this will take a few minutes. Now that the initial setup is complete, I can hop on the web browser to finish things up. In my case, that URL will be 192.168.3.4 and using port 8006. I'll log in using root and the password that I set up. This installation is for my home lab and won't be used for enterprise use, so I'm going to disable all the subscription features. To do that, on the left-hand menu, I'll go to Data Center and Proxmox 01. Then from the main menu, I'll select Updates, Repositories, and then I'll click Add. Select No Subscription from the dropdown. And then I'm going to disable any of the API repos with the word Enterprise. And then I'm going to click Reload. Next, I want to set up DNS and TLS. First, I'll hop on my OpenSense server and then create an entry for DNS. I'll call the host Proxmox01, and the domain name will be heavymetalcloud.lan. And the IP address will be 192.168.3.4. And then I'll click Apply. With that in place, I'll hop back on the Proxmox Management Console to set up TLS. On the left-hand side, make sure you have Data Center, then Proxmox01 selected. Then from the main menu, select System and Certificates. Click the Upload Custom Certificates button, and then I'll locate my TLS certificate and click Upload. So at this point, the UI will reboot, and this may take a few minutes. And now I should be able to access the management console using proxmox01.heavymetalcloud.lan and using port 8006. Now we want to define a Proxmox cluster using our first server. A cluster allows us to group multiple physical servers together to act as one virtual environment. You start with one server and then join the other machines to the cluster. To create the cluster, make sure you selected Data Center on the left-hand side. Then from the main menu, we'll select Cluster. I'll click the Create Cluster button, and then I have to give it a name. I'm going to use Proxmox-cluster. For the network, I'll use my Ethernet IP address, which is 192.168.3.4, and then I'll click the Create button. Now that the cluster is created, it's time to expand it. And we'll do that by inviting our other servers to join the cluster. To save some time, I've already installed Proxmox on the other 2 servers, using my USB drive. To expand the cluster, I'll hop on the first server that created the Proxmox cluster. On the left-hand side, I'll go to Data Center. Then on the main menu, I'll click Cluster. Then I'm going to click the Join Information button. And now I want to click Copy Information. This is going to copy that big block of text, and we'll need this for the next step. Then I'll hop on my second Proxmox server that I want to add to the cluster. On the left-hand side, I'll go to Data Center. Then on the main menu, I'll click Cluster. In the information field, I'll paste that text from the last step. And you can see once I do that, the window is pre-populated with all our settings. The peer address will be the IP address of the Proxmox cluster, and this will be 192.168.3.4, which is the IP address of the first server. The password will just be the root password from the Proxmox cluster node, and for the fingerprint, you can leave that as default. For the cluster network, click the drop-down button and select the link address of the node that you want to join. In my case, that'll be 192.168.3.5. The peer link address should already be populated with the cluster IP, which is 192.168.3.4. Now let's click the Join Proxmox Cluster button, and this will take a few minutes. Okay, I've gone ahead and repeated those steps for the other Proxmox server. And now if I go back to the management console of the first server, you can see all three servers have joined the cluster. Okay, Proxmox is installed and all three machines have joined the cluster. In my next video, I'll install Ceph to give us distributed storage in the cluster. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.